Welcome to Nole Edge, the official podcast of the College of Arts and Sciences at Florida State University. I'm your host, Amy Walden, and today we welcome two guests to the podcast, Michael Neal and Gary Tyson. Michael Neal is an associate professor in the Department of English, and Gary Tyson is the Harris Professor in the Department of Computer Science. Michael and Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So on today's episode, we're discussing Michael and Gary's research in the field of artificial intelligence and chatbots, such as ChatGPT, and their advisory roles within FSU's growing AI-focused community of researchers. So Michael, I'd like to start with you. Can you tell me about your areas of research and what courses you teach in the Department of English?
Sure. My field is rhetoric and composition, and I've been studying writing technologies for the last 30 plus years. Which includes writing assessment, multimodal communication, multimedia communication. We have a major called editing, writing, and media, and I teach a course called visual rhetoric in the digital age. I teach graduate classes in digital revolution, and I help prepare our graduate students for writing program administration, things like running writing centers, first-year composition programs, digital studios.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Gary, same question. What are your areas of research and what courses do you teach in the Department of Computer Science?
So I've been at FSU since 2003. And before that, I was at the University of Michigan. Before that was UC Riverside. Before that was other places. I've taught, I think, almost every class you can teach in the computer science discipline. But my research area originally focused on computer architecture, the design of computers. But more recently, it's been in AI, because AI has been a transformative advance, not only for everybody, but particularly for computer science. So now I actually do research in large language models with researchers at the National High Magnetic Field Lab, where we're trying to make systems that allow the scientists who come and visit that facility to be more effective in the research they do and more efficient with their time and the resources at the lab.
Well, I'm really excited to talk with both of you about some of your research in this podcast today. So at the start of the fall 2024 semester, FSU Information Technology Services established the Artificial Intelligence in Education Advisory Committee. And Michael, you're a member of that committee. Can you tell us what the goal of the committee is and why it's so important?
Sure. We're an advisory committee to the provost and the faculty senate, so we don't make any decisions, but we'll put a report together at the end of this year that tries to help us think about AI educational instructional use. So we're not thinking about research and data privacy and some of those other issues. We're thinking specifically about what this looks like in terms of classroom use. We are not looking to advocate for or against AI. Rather, we're trying to look at how AI is actually being used and how it can be used in the best ways as we think about advocating for teaching and learning. So in the fall and early spring, we put out a survey to undergraduate students, graduate students, and faculty just to find out how AI is actually being used. And from that, we're developing 5 different personas, reasonable personas, because faculty disagree about how and when AI should be used. And so everything from the enthusiasts to the skeptics, we feel like those could be reasonable positions. And so we're going to advise as to the kinds of policies and practices that can be implemented across campus. Not that we're looking for a uniform policy, but we're looking for communication. Students are confused because faculty have so many different perspectives. And in many ways, it's been underground. We're doing this work, but we're not sure if it's okay or not. So students are not talking about it openly. Faculty are not clearly articulating what they need to have happen in their classes. So we're just trying to advocate for policies, procedures. We're putting website materials together to help faculty navigate how to clearly communicate to students about expectations.
Great. And Gary, similarly, you are chair of the College of Arts and Sciences' new AI Taskforce, which supports faculty, staff, and students in the college from various STEM and humanities disciplines in navigating this new AI world. It's truly an interdisciplinary effort. Can you talk about some of the ways the task force is working to meet the needs of scholars from different academic fields who utilize AI in such different ways?
So we were tasked with looking at how AI would influence the Arts and Science College. This college actually extends a very wide way. Most of the disciplines that have expertise in AI, math, statistics, computer science, scientific computing, reside in this college. And many of the fields that are primary users of AI techniques now to extend the research in the field are also in this college. So we wanted to look at what the college could do at the college level in terms of policy, like we're doing at the university, at the department level, both in teaching and in research. So on the teaching side, it's really allowing the faculty to understand what the capabilities are of the AI systems, what the opportunities are, and what some of the pitfalls are. AI is going to affect the curriculum probably of every department in the college. I can give as an example computer science. We've been teaching programming since I was a student in the early 80s taking programming courses. And much of that instruction is similar, even though the language has changed, the size of programs change. AI is fundamentally changing it now, though, because you can take any of the assignments that we would give to freshmen and sophomores and just have an AI complete it. They could complete it without the student being involved, right? They just read the assignment, give the answer. That obviously isn't going to work for us because the students won't learn how to program there. On the other hand, as a faculty member, I hire graduate student researchers to work with me doing programming. I will not hire a student who doesn't use AI tools because they provide that much efficiency for them in what they're able to do, order of magnitude at least, in their ability to generate code, correct code, debug it, get it working. So our students need to know how to use these tools before they graduate, but they can't start with these tools because they won't learn the fundamental skills that they need in order to be able to efficiently use the tools. So this is a challenge for our department in figuring out how the curriculum is going to be changed when AI is integrated. That same challenge exists in every other department, but it's different in every department. So in the Arts and Science Policy Committee, we discussed some of these issues, and we proposed that each department should actually get a set of faculty who are interested in AI and how it applies to the curriculum and possibly research, and have them come and talk to the members of our committee, experts, so that they can get a better idea of how to apply AI in their field and in their curriculum. On the research side, it's even more fundamental. There isn't a single area of research that isn't becoming data dependent. And that really means you need to allow the faculty who have data science experience and AI experience to work collaboratively with those who need it. From our point of view in computer science, we don't have data sets that are interesting within our own department. Our application of AI is in kind of grand challenges that go beyond our department. So we need to go out and do that interdisciplinary work. Those fields that are being inundated with data need to have expertise with people who are not afraid of large amounts of data. So really we're trying to figure out in the college how best to set up a system so that faculty can find the people who can help them in the types of things that they want to do. And that's I think, the challenge right now on the research front all universities are facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the task force and the committee are going to be such important resources going forward, and really excited to see where those go in the next few months, especially. I want to turn now to some of your specific research on AI and chatbots. In February, FSU's Interdisciplinary Data Science program hosted the 2025 Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Expo AI MLX 25 at the Challenger Learning Center, which is the fifth event in the annual series. Michael, you presented some of your research at the expo discussing how AI is often equated with plagiarism in the classroom, but it's really a much more multifaceted topic. Can you tell us a little bit more about this research?
Yes, I chose the topic of plagiarism in relationship to AI because when we as human beings experience something new, we oftentimes compare it to what we already know. It's just a natural way for us to understand the world. So a couple years ago when I heard about pickleball for the first time, it's like tennis, it's like racquetball, but it's not, right? And so we take what we know and then we differentiate it between the things that we know and we don't know. So it's very natural, I think, for students and faculty to begin understanding generative AI in English departments or other humanities, arts, and relate it to plagiarism initially, because it both include text that's not generated by the student themselves. And so it's sort of a natural bridge. And yet it's not exactly that, right? There are important distinctions as well. Perhaps most importantly, that generative AI and what's produced from that is oftentimes asked for, like Gary was just talking about, or required in disciplines across campus and workplace settings. And so it's not just something, plagiarism is something we try to stop. It's academic integrity, it's cheating, we detect it, we punish it, we do everything we can to get rid of it. And some of us would like to see us just try to get rid of AI as well. I don't think that's advisable or realistic. And so thinking about how AI is different from plagiarism and not equating the two. Next semester, for example, I'm not even going to put those statements near each other in the syllabus. Right now, I have the one preceding the other, and I don't like the relationship that suggests. Now, I think we all know that students have used ChatGPT and other LLMs to cheat. And the faculty survey that we sent out, something like 80% of faculty believe that AI can undermine student learning. There's that potential, but there's also the potential for AI to do these amazing things and for students to use them in ways that reinforce their learning and build their creativity. But just returning to plagiarism for just a moment is as an example. The model of plagiarism that we have in the academy suggests that we can make very clear distinctions between what's mine and what's somebody else's. And so we develop these very sophisticated citation and documentation practices and MLA and APA and Chicago style and so forth. And we do that, and we have been doing that for a long time within the academy. Students who violate that then, get confronted about that. If it's depending on the level of severity, we punish it and so forth. But let's just think about that for a moment. There's a chapter in my book that I begin with something like, I've never written an original sentence in my entire life, but that's okay, neither have you. And what I'm trying to do is show that these distinctions between what's mine and what somebody else's are actually quite blurry. And yes, we have this documentation and citation, and we need to do that to give credit. But let's just take the topic of AI. Over the last 3-4 years, I can't even begin to fully comprehend the number of books, articles, podcasts, videos, news reports that I have read, listened to, seen, consumed in some ways. And all of my ideas about this are in some ways a result of what I have read and seen and thought about. And so I'm not copying other people's work, but I am certainly drawing on it. In one way, you could say that all the reading that I've been doing, all the listening and all the consumption of smart texts about this, I'm developing my own LLM. I'm developing my large language model. And we know that reading and writing are importantly linked together. We want students to read good, solid, well-reasoned, complex, longer texts, in part because we produce what we input, and we've known that. And so to make these real clear distinctions between what's mine and what's yours, again, we have to do that in some level in the academic setting because there are, again, legitimate forms of cheating that go on with plagiarism. But most of what we're doing is we're trying to deal with and understand what we've read and what we've heard. And so I draw on theories of remix and assemblage for composition, which is less about the idea that the author creates these things in some original way. And in part, what we do is we listen and we read and we absorb, and then we reassemble, we transform, we borrow, and that's not cheating. That's actually writing. Musicians do it, artists do it, architects do it. I mean, every field does it. And yet in the academy, we're somehow, oh, this is mine, this is yours. So I don't want to use that. I don't want to make those same mistakes with AI. Again, we want to make this really clear distinction, I think, between the computer generated this text and the human generated this text over here. So some of our early work was like, well, just cite everything that you do with AI. And I did some of those experiments early on with AI. Like I would have AI write a paragraph, and then I would write a paragraph, and I'd say, this is the one that was the machine, and this is the one that's human. But with the way that AI is integrated into all of our tools, we don't have these clear distinctions. I could give a million examples. One example might be that I might write a couple pages and ask the computer, I use Claude more than ChatGPT, but I might ask it some questions, or I might ask for suggestions. I may not actually follow those suggestions or use any of the text that it generates, but it is making me think about something, and maybe there are parts of that language that I use. Is that human produced or is that computer produced? both, right? And so to have these very clear distinctions is a kind of inauthentic way to think about what writers and their tools. We've done this with spell check, with grammar checks, with any number of writing technologies up into this point. So instead of trying to draw some very clear distinction, I want to think about ways in which we can develop assignments, curricula, teaching practices that acknowledge and embrace the ways that we're all using and can use generative AI in ways that support teaching and learning, because there are ways that we can use it that undermine learning, but there are really smart ways that we can use it to support learning. So I'd like to see education and my field, writing studies, and all these other fields to think about how they might acknowledge that students are using it and not try to make these, not make it into something like plagiarism where this is something that we need to detect, that we need to catch, that we need to punish. I'm not interested in that.
Michael, thank you so much for that. Those were all great points and things that I think a lot of people are just now starting to think about, and all those gray areas within AI, because it is so inescapable now, it seems. So going back to the AI MLX Expo, this year's theme was AI in education, which took an in-depth look at the variety of ways classrooms and research are changing and adapting to artificial intelligence. What are you most excited for as FSU begins venturing further into this AI space? Gary, we'll start with you.
So I want to address, follow up on one thing. So I think we've done ourselves a bit of a disservice in understanding AI. We've looked at ChatGPT. I would say ChatGPT was trained to be a personal assistant. From an academic point of view, that's a little bit like training it to be a well-read student who's willing to share their answers. And as you can imagine, that's problematic. That's only one way to train an AI. You could just as easily train the AI to ask probing questions the way a faculty member would if they were doing kind of one-on-one work with a student. And I think you will see a next generation of AI tools that are not just answering questions as a personal assistant. The work I'm doing with the Mag Lab is to build a large language model so that the researchers who come to the Mag Lab, and these are world experts, Nobel Prize winners in some cases, and they come to the Mag Lab facility because they have the world's best equipment, and they run experiments on it, and then they usually take their data and go home and try to deal with their data. And their output from the Mag Lab tends to be something like an Excel spreadsheet. We wanted to see if we could do better than that. So we're training a large language model to be a research assistant for those people, one that understands all of the algorithms and analysis routines that they would want to use, understands the way they present the data in graph form for publication, and is capable of taking simple language queries and turning it into the correct code run on the data that was just generated, producing all of the figures that somebody would want for publication. That is a huge improvement for those people who come in here. That becomes now as important as the fact that these are unique facilities, because now the software and the analysis stuff is optimized for those and optimized for the needs of those researchers. That type of more specialized large language model that really is there to enhance some aspect of the user, and you can imagine many scenarios beyond the Mag Lab researchers, is going to be more impactful than ChatGPT answering questions for you and helping you write. So I can imagine a large language model that is trained in how to teach somebody better writing skills, or to help train a psychologist in how to handle patients better, or, just build one after another. So the large language models have basically learned the sum total of all knowledge that you can find on the internet, and then they're specialized as something. The assistant that answers questions for you, or the teacher that probes you, or the scientist that helps you. That's where I think you're going to see these major changes. And that will actually change the way academics works, because you can specialize it to the needs of students as they go through the university. And frankly, as a parent, you can buy the same tools to help your 4, 5, 6-year-old to be able to accelerate their learning and their ability to actually understand concepts. And then when they get to school, they've got this relationship with an AI that understands everything about them because it's known them since they were 4 years old. That's going to change a little longer frame, right? 20 years from now, that's going to completely change the way we think of of our role in providing knowledge to the student.
I mean, if we just think about a few years ago when we weren't even really talking about artificial intelligence on a daily basis and how far it's come in the past 5 years, it's wild. So very excited to see where things go in the future, especially a couple decades down the road. Michael, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I would just echo the excitement. I think in my mind, seeing the way that faculty and students use technologies in ways that I hadn't imagined is always interesting to me. So being part of the expo, I appreciated being invited as a person from English, and I heard people from all these other disciplines talking about things. I go to as many of the coffee chats over in the Innovation Hub as I can on Wednesday mornings. I'm part of a cross-disciplinary reading group right now where we're reading More Than Words, which is a book on AI. I just want to hear what other faculty are doing. I want to be open. I don't necessarily think we all have to agree on it, but it was a really exciting conference, and there are opportunities on this campus to talk to people like Gary, and these are fascinating things that I didn't know about AI and how they might be used in the near future. My students are using AI in ways that I hadn't necessarily predicted. Just this semester, students have used AI to develop comic strips, to do a music for a remix project, to help redesign a monument or memorial. And I'm not requiring it, but I'm allowing it. And then there's reflective questions to go along with it. And students for me in technology, I'm a mid-range technology user. My kids would say I'm low end, but I'm a mid-range user. I've always learned about technology primarily through what interested students are doing, what other faculty are doing, and then having an openness to experiment and to explore. I think school should be fun. I think school should be about play, and it's okay if something doesn't work. But let's try some of these things, and to see some of my, especially upper level students in the EWM classes who are like really pushing the edge, and maybe some of their projects don't work out, but man, did they learn a lot, and I learned a lot from them. And so it's been a fun tool to see the ways in which students are trying to use things. Some of the technology's not quite there yet, but that's one of the reflection questions I ask. What didn't it do that you hoped it would do? And then maybe they could work on their own prompting, or maybe more expensive technologies might give them opportunities to do something that they can't right now. But we're always just sort of trying it, being open to it, understanding its limitations, but also pushing some of the edges and just trying to see what it's capable of and what it might do with us.
All new territory, and it's all very exciting. Tune in later this week for part 2 of this special extended edition of Nole Edge.